Hot take, I believe it's dumb to own more than one Bitcoin mining stock in your portfolio, and this might be an unpopular opinion, but it doesn't take a whole lot of brain power, for me at least. If Bitcoin succeeds, every single Bitcoin mining company is going to succeed, and if Bitcoin fails, every single Bitcoin mining company is going to fail. So to me, it makes sense to focus on finding the Bitcoin mining company that has the best management team, the one with the best decision making, the one with the best efficiency, the one with the best execution, the one with the best innovation, and the one with the best foresight. For me, and I've believed this for a very long time, that company is CleanSpark, ticker symbol CLSK. I've actually been covering this company on my YouTube channel longer than anybody else on YouTube has been talking about the company. But today we have some new developments at CleanSpark that I'm very excited about. A few of them actually were kind of hidden in SEC filings. I'll show you those today. But yeah, I'm excited for this video. I hope you guys are too. CleanSpark's a lot of the reason my YouTube channel has blown up. But if you guys are new here or returning and not yet subscribed, be sure you subscribe down below by hitting the subscribe button. Since November of last year, CleanSpark stock is up over 100%, close to 125%, and people are still upset and disappointed about this. Just relax. Investing is a long game, but that's just crazy to me. You're up over 100% in 4 months and people are still complaining. This compares to Marathon Digital, which is another popular Bitcoin mining stock, which over the same time period is up 97%. And then Riot Platforms, probably the third most prominent Bitcoin mining company, is actually only up less than 10% in that same time period. So CleanSpark has outperformed every single other Bitcoin mining company over the last 4 months or so, and I think it's going to continue, and I'll explain why that is in today's video. But let's start here. CleanSpark just this morning gave us their January Bitcoin mining update, and they also announced an expansion at their Dalton, Georgia site, which is expected to operate at 1.6 exahash per second once complete. That is a 2x of its current operational hash rate. And the other piece of big news is that CleanSpark is going to have an additional 4.6 exahash per second of machines fully hashing by mid-month, so mid-February. This is a big deal because CleanSpark's hash rate has leveled off at around 10 exahash per second for several months in a row now. We're finally going to start to see an increase in that overall hash rate, which I think is just in time with the April Bitcoin halving coming up. So this is going to be roughly a 33% increase in CleanSpark's overall hash rate, which means they're going to mine probably around 33% more Bitcoin, depending on what the mining difficulty does over the same time period. But this is really, really exciting, again, with the April halving event coming up. In January, CleanSpark mined 577 Bitcoin. They sold 6.4, which I don't even, if you're just going to sell 6.4, I don't know why you would sell 6.4. It was proceeds of $286,000, which for average Joes and Jims like me and you, it sounds like quite a bit of money, but for a company like CleanSpark, a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, it's nothing. But yeah, it's exciting. CleanSpark's HODL balance continues to grow up to over 3,500 Bitcoin on its balance sheet currently. This also is exciting going into the halving event and likely the price of Bitcoin increasing throughout 2024 and 2025. It's just a great time, in my opinion, to be a Bitcoin mining shareholder. Now, I will say this, I'm much more of an investor than a trader, but it's looking more and more like if you want to buy Bitcoin mining stocks, it's more of a trading vehicle than an investment. If you want to invest in Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin itself, because these Bitcoin mining stocks have extreme volatility. They are leveraged plays on Bitcoin itself, which means in the bad times, your portfolio is going to tank. I think a lot of us learned that in 2022. But in the good times, if you own Bitcoin mining stocks, you're going to make a lot of money. And this is the best performing sector in the entire stock market when Bitcoin is increasing in price. But back to this expansion quickly. Once this 4.6 exahash per second of machines is online and fully hashing, it's likely to propel CleanSpark into the number 2 spot out of all of the public Bitcoin mining stocks when it comes to operational capacity and hash rate. This is because over at Marathon, which is the number 2 producer currently, they seem to be having some sort of issues. We're not sure what this is. We're likely to get an update from Marathon when their January Bitcoin mining update comes out, but in Marapool, which is where all of their Bitcoin miners are connected, there's only an operational hash rate of 7.1 exahash per second. So actually right now, CleanSpark is the number 2 producer of Bitcoin currently, just slightly behind Core Scientific, which just emerged from bankruptcy and is selling every single Bitcoin that they mine. But yeah, this is exciting stuff. As a CleanSpark shareholder, investors in the Bitcoin space have doubted CleanSpark forever, saying that they would never amount to anything, and all of a sudden they're going to be the number 2 producer and probably the best producer out of any company. It's really exciting to see when your investment thesis comes true when a lot of people have doubted it. Now, the last thing I want to note on this January Bitcoin mining update from CleanSpark is based on this expansion in Dalton, Georgia. If this is something you guys care about, pay attention to it. At the Dalton, Georgia facility, which is what they're going to expand to 1.6 exahash per second, the percentage of energy usage that comes from carbon sources is actually 79%. It's not a very clean site. Only 21% of their energy usage is non-carbon based. So this small expansion at the Dalton, Georgia facility is going to skew CleanSpark's overall cleanliness when it comes to Bitcoin mining. But that's just one note I wanted to make because on this channel, I like to be transparent about everything. But now let's go over to my Twitter, or X, I guess it's called now. If you guys don't follow me over there, be sure you follow me there because I've been posting a lot more over there and it's a lot of really good stuff with a lot of good data points. Let's focus on this tweet first, where I go into a cost of revenue breakdown at CleanSpark's operations at their wholly owned facilities versus their hosted facilities. This actually came from CleanSpark's 10K, which is their annual report. A lot of people don't like to read the SEC filings. I'm a nerd, so I do. But considering the direct costs of mining, the facilities that CleanSpark owns gave them an increased margin on their Bitcoin mining revenue of 15.1% compared to Bitcoin at their hosted sites. CleanSpark has always been big on owning their assets. In the past, other Bitcoin mining companies and even investors in this space kind of mocked the company for this, but now you're starting to see every other Bitcoin mining company copy what CleanSpark has done by owning their facilities, owning the real estate, owning their rigs 100%. And this is exactly why. It just makes sense to own your assets. First of all, it gives the company balance sheet some sort of structure and backbone in an otherwise extremely volatile industry. If you have an asset-light balance sheet like Marathon used to have and still partly has, your balance sheet will fluctuate like crazy depending on what the price of Bitcoin does. But if you add the real estate and the data center ownership, as well as 100% ownership of the Bitcoin mining rigs, again, it gives you some sort of structure and it protects you from this volatility of Bitcoin. Second of all, I think this is going to be the next stage in the Bitcoin mining space. If you own your assets, I think these companies are going to be able to leverage those assets better to get better debt deals to grow as a company. There still aren't very many lenders in this space, which makes borrowing money very expensive. But as this sort of changes, I think CleanSpark in particular will be able to leverage their real estate instead of their Bitcoin on their balance sheet or their Bitcoin mining rigs on their balance sheet to take out debt to grow as a company. It's going to significantly reduce the cost of capital, which is a huge deal. At their owned facilities, CleanSpark had a margin of 48.2%. At their hosted facilities, CleanSpark only had a margin of 33.1%. This all has to do with hosting fees as well as profit shares when you host your Bitcoin miners somewhere else with a different company. These numbers are going to be different at every single Bitcoin mining company because nobody's contracts are identical, but this gives you a kind of an idea of why owning your assets is likely the better option, at least as it stands today. Maybe that'll change in the future, but I really don't see it. So CleanSpark is already ahead of the 8 ball when it comes to this, while other Bitcoin mining companies are catching up. And this goes back to the decision-making and the forethought and the execution that I talked about at the beginning of this video and why I prefer CleanSpark to these other operators. Now next, let's talk about executive compensation. And this is something that Bitcoin mining investors have worried about a lot, and rightfully so. Bitcoin mining company executives have paid themselves way too handsomely ever since they started mining Bitcoin. I would even argue that despite Zachary Bradford's pay, which he's the CEO of CleanSpark, declining by 20.9% in 2023, I still think he probably makes too much money. The executive chairman, Matthew Schultz, his pay declined by around 16.1% according to my estimations. This comes as a direct result of a greater than 50% reduction in stock awards year over year. But yeah, despite this, Zach Bradford's pay still totaled almost $7 million last year, and Matthew Schultz paid totaled $6.3 million. Now, I understand a lot of this compensation comes from stock-based or equity compensation, but considering both salary and bonus cash, Zachary Bradford made $3.2 million, and Matthew Schultz made almost $3 million. But I think this is a really good start. I struggle to see why they pay themselves like they're the CEO of Amazon. This is still a very, very young industry, and these are very young companies. As a shareholder, you'd like to see these companies cut back on the compensation a little bit more. However, I will give CleanSpark some credit. So far, they are the only Bitcoin mining company that I've seen that's actually had their compensation decline year over year. I will keep an eye on this. If you guys want to keep an eye for yourself, you can look at companies' Def 14A SEC filings. In those, you will find executive compensation breakdowns. And lastly, I have a feeling a lot of you are going to like this one. The management team is aligned with the shareholders for 2024. This is something that was hidden in an SEC filing that I found. For 2024, the company has added a stock price performance incentive where if the stock price goes up, CleanSpark's executives will be awarded additional equity in their company. This is not a cash bonus. This is an equity bonus, awarding them additional ownership of their company. So I'm fully on board with that. CleanSpark executives have never sold shares of stock unless it was to cover tax obligations and liabilities with options vesting or restricted stock units vesting. I fully anticipate the executive team to hold onto these shares if they are awarded the additional equity as a result of the share price going up. There are 3 layers to this. If the share price goes up to $7.62 per share, which it already has, they will be awarded some stock, RSUs. And if it goes up 200%, which would be at $11.43, they get more equity in their company. And if it goes up 300%, which would be $15.24 per share, there's another tranche of bonus equity that they would receive. So this just proves to you, despite all of the dilution that's taken place, at least for 2024, CleanSpark is fully aligned with shareholder interests. They have an interest in the stock price performing well and going up. Now, I will say a lot of this is outside of the management team's control. If Bitcoin does well, their stock's going to go up. If Bitcoin does bad, their stock's going to go down. That's just the way it works. And, over the last couple of years when the stock prices performed poorly, a lot of people pointed the finger at the management team. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. It wasn't their fault. I hate to say it, but the price of Bitcoin is outside of any one person's control or any management team's control. And unfortunately, again, these companies are going to be majorly affected by any huge moves in the price of Bitcoin. Now, to end this video, I'll go over my price target spreadsheet here once again. If you want access to this as well as my buy and sell alerts, we've been killing the markets, by the way, since October of 2022. And even before that, I think I've been more accurate than anybody else in the finance space for the last 2 years when it comes to the markets. You can look at what I've said in the past. I called the bottom on October 6th. I made a video on it. But anyways, that's besides the point. I'm probably due to be wrong because I've been so correct. If you want to join the membership, hit the join button located right next to the subscribe button. We have the best CleanSpark community and Discord server out of anybody that offers one. And if you don't find value in it, I will 100% refund you for your first month. So it's a zero risk investment to support me so I can avoid all these crappy sponsorships that other YouTubers take. But anyways, based on my numbers for 2024, I think by the end of this year, CleanSpark could be at $35.55, which represents 330-ish% upside from here. Now, a caveat to this is obviously the price of Bitcoin. By the end of 2024, you can see it here. I have the price of Bitcoin reaching $100,000. This would mean that CleanSpark's total revenue opportunity at $100,000 is $1 billion per year. This would also bring their projected total balance to a value of $850 million. So if the price of Bitcoin gets to $100,000, that's where I get this price target from of $35.55. The rest of this spreadsheet is really unknown. I've tried to project what I think is going to happen through 2030. This is a bull case thesis and spreadsheet that I've made here based on Cathie Wood's $1.5 million per Bitcoin price target by 2030. There is absolutely zero guarantee that that's going to come true, but if it does come true, I see CleanSpark stock hitting $580.13. That's assuming 25% annual recurring share dilution, meaning their total outstanding share count increases 25% every single year. Again, this is a very capital intensive industry. I don't think dilution is going to slow down for quite some time. Over time, it'll slow down very slightly, I think, as more debt capital comes into the space, but that's another unknown. You'll notice with this space, it's so young. These companies are so young. There's so many unknowns that you can't project and can't predict. So there's a very good chance that my price target here isn't even going to be remotely close. It could be way below $35 this year, and it could be way above $35 this year. This is just my best guess right now based on the variables that I see. But with that, remember to subscribe down below if you are new here or returning and not yet subscribed. Let me know in the comments section if you own CleanSpark stock. I love seeing all the new faces, even though I've talked about CleanSpark for a long time now. It seems like I get a bunch of new subscribers every time I talk about them. So I appreciate all of the support. The growth on my channel has been insane. We have the best community on YouTube, bar none. With that, have a great rest of your day. Stay blessed. Keep 10 toes to the ground and your chin up. Peace out.